on that.
Regional economic outlook for sub-Saharan Africa topped the list of meetings 5 days into the IMF World Bank meeting.
When we look at the debt in Nigeria, our sense is that
after giving an overview of the economic status of African countries, the Director of African Department at IMF, Mr. Abebe Selassie, settled on answering questions on countries. Nigeria's debt situation and policy reform was in view. To him, the debt status of the country is not unsustainable, although its servicing is at a risky stage, especially with low generation of internal revenue.
Supply shocks.
And then came the global economic debate with panelists including the President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, and the Director General of World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The panel unanimously agreed that global economy is facing one of its worst times, with data capturing the reality. For Dr. Iweala, the solution lies in re-globalization.
We want to say at the WTO, our analysis has shown that the vulnerabilities come from over-concentration in some supply chains and over-concentration of production in some geographies. If that is the root of the problem, then to build resilience, we need, yes, to deconcentrate and diversify those supply chains. And we are arguing that a good way to do it is not just to do it with your friends or those who are like you, but to spread your wings, because we also have something called climate change. And if you cluster too many things, you don't know what phenomenon is going to happen. So why don't we look at developing economies that have the right business environment, and I insist on that, and see if we can diversify some supply chains there. So we build resilience. Some of these have been left out during the first wave of globalization. So we can build resilience whilst being inclusive. And we're calling that re-globalization.
Thoughts like this seem to be driving towards a consensus that economic policies and perspectives need to change if the world would be resilient to present and future shocks.
I think what's critically important is that we have an open mind and we have the humility to accept that we don't know it all, number one. The instruments that we have been using need to change and evolve and adjust and integrate new components that we haven't had on our plate, and I think that applies to models, that applies also to our communication, that applies to many factors that certainly have an impact on our job as central bankers.
After the debate, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed is glad that in her time as Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning in Nigeria, she did not have to deal with so much disruptions.
Well, actually, that was simply one of the panelists stating the facts. Globally, things have become more difficult. In the fiscal space, things are tight for almost all countries. Interest rates are extremely high, and they're going to be staying higher for much longer. But there are still opportunities, which is one of the reasons I liked about this session. And the opportunities lies mainly in trade. So we must look at how we can become more open in our trade systems, remove restrictions, trade both near and far, so that we can maximize opportunities.
Africans have the edge now. Africa is the future. Common notions at meetings like this. However, exploring the potentials on the continent is what the world is yet to see. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.